Coming straight out of Canton, 24/7, 365. From the Hall of Fame city, this is Uncensored Football. All right, we're back. Uncensored Football. I'm your host, Zach Zander, with my co-host, EJ Savavik, the fantasy big shot. EJ, how we doing on this beautiful day?
Great, buddy. Great, man. Let's keep talking some football, man. Make this day good.
Yeah, we're talking dynasty football today. We're playing stock report up or down, and there is some huge news in the football world today. Leonard Fournette is on the trade block, and I have a feeling that there's some fire behind this smoke. It's reported all over ESPN, and he's in a dreamy situation to be moved because it's obvious Jacksonville seems to be kind of tanking possibly for a Trevor Lawrence situation. So, EJ, do you see Leonard Fournette leaving Jacksonville, and what's a team that would be a suitor for that trade?
You know, first of all, all these smoke screens, man. Do you really think that these GMs will be showing their cards, or you think there's a reason behind it? We got to be careful. Every single day there's something new. So-and-so is looking to trade this pick in the draft. This player is now on the block. There's a lot of smoke screens, Z. You got to really be careful. But with this situation, Jacksonville has proven that they're on complete rebuild, and they don't want anybody. They want to sell everybody while they can, and who knows what they're doing in Jacksonville. They might get ready to sell the team for all we know. But I don't think this Fournette thing is a smokescreen whatsoever, and I think he gets traded during the draft. What do you think?
100% agree. This is a dreamy situation. He's only owed $4.16 million under his current contract. He can still be extended for a fifth year, then possibly even franchise tag. So a team that trades for him can have him for 3 more years of his prime. And since they haven't really made the playoffs, he doesn't have a ton of tread on those tires. Last year, he stayed healthy for basically the first time and put up good numbers on a subpar offense. Imagine him in a dreamy situation. I think his stock is going to go up with this trade. I do believe he gets traded. I'm not sure what the compensation is going to be, what he's really worth out there, and who's willing to give it. What teams do you think would be interested in him? Because we all know the talent.
Absolutely. And that's one thing to bring up, Z. What you said is he does have an injury history. He does have that terrible offense that have, held him back for so long now. I mean, actually, he misses picture day and gets suspended. I mean, it's one thing after another with Leonard Fournette. However, he still last year proved 4.3 yards per carry, toted the ball 265 yards for 1152 and just 3 touchdowns. Never really punched it in the red zone, but that's a Jacksonville problem, not a Leonard Fournette problem. There's going to be a lot of lovely fits for him. I don't see him leaving the state of Florida. That's right. I think Tampa Bay makes a play. That is a beautiful fit. They're a win now. Let's go all out. We got TB12. Our wide receiver core is the best group in the NFL. And then all of a sudden, you insert Leonard Fournette at running back. Whew! That sounds filthy to me, Z. What do you like to see?
You know what? That does sound pretty good when you bring it up. They could give maybe possibly a mid-second round pick, have Leonard Fournette in his prime with Tom Brady, and talk about a LeGarrette Blount on steroids with 4.4 speed and Leonard Fournette. I think that would work out pretty good. I'm thinking about a team that just lost a running back that was a former MVP candidate out there in California and LA. The Rams bringing him in. They have a second-round pick that they got with the Brandon Cooks trade. So basically they could trade Brandon Cooks for Leonard Fournette. We know that McVay offense is all about the run game, power run, play action pass. Leonard Fournette could be what Gurley was 3 seasons ago and rush for 20 touchdowns. Fournette, that'd be pretty sick. I also think a close second is another LA team in the Chargers. They could replace Melvin Gordon pretty cheap by bringing in Fournette at that $4.16 million. I mean, that's dreamy for almost any team. We know the talent. This dude, I mean, he will plow you. He'll run over you. He can catch the ball. He showed soft hands. This guy's getting traded, and I can't wait to see where he ends up.
Yeah, another couple teams too. I think a contender makes the splash at him because, they're going to get him a lot cheaper than obviously Jacksonville got him for. And what about Pittsburgh? about Pittsburgh? James Conner can't stay healthy. They have already proven that they're not afraid to throw a first-rounder for an immediate impact player like Minkah Fitzpatrick. With Big Ben coming back with a great offensive line, there's high hopes in Pittsburgh. And imagine Leonard Fournette behind that offensive line. That sounds crazy, man, but I think he will be a workhorse, and he still runs mad. Leonard Fournette, he has a motivation problem. His characteristics, it's not good, you know. Leonard Fournette, you could tell he'd be half-assing carries in Jacksonville because there's no motivation on a losing football team. But when he gets pissed or he has something to play for, Leonard Fournette runs mad as hell. How do you like his fit in Pittsburgh, Z?
I'm not in love with it. I just don't see Pittsburgh moving that direction. But how about in the same state, team up Philadelphia, Miles Sanders, Doug Peterson, Leonard Fournette, Carson Wentz, bringing a wide receiver. I think that could be a dynamic duo. Miles Sanders is best at around 12, 15 touches. Yeah, that would hurt. That would hurt Miles Sanders' dynasty stock, but I think it would be lovely for Leonard Fournette. Philadelphia likes to mix it up in the running back field. They like to have a power back. They had Howard last year. This is Howard, times 10. I think he'd be nasty in Philly. They could keep him healthy. They could keep Miles Sanders healthy. They got the offensive line, the quarterback. I just don't know if they want to spend the compensation that it's going to take to get Leonard Fournette. I'm not sure what Jacksonville is asking for. I assume it's probably like a second-round pick. They can't. I don't see them getting a first-round pick. So I think a mid-second gets it done. And if he ends up in Philadelphia or wherever he ends up, it's going to be a better situation than Jacksonville. I think we both can agree with that.
Yeah, you can't count the running back collectors out. And Peterson, what is he? He's a running back collector. Bill Belichick, running back collector. He could make a move for him, bringing Leonard Fournette to New England. Shanahan and 49ers, running back collector. You really can't count these running back collectors out ever. So there's a lot of places Fournette could end up, but I really think it's with a contender.
Absolutely. So that's Leonard Fournette. He's on the go. There's smoke that he's going to get traded. And I think with his salary and what's remaining on his contract and the ability to extend him, I think this guy's gone. And he's going to end up somewhere nice and juicy. So if you're a Leonard Fournette owner in Dynasty, I think you can hope for the best situation. But I think it's going to end up pretty green on the other side of the fence. So Leonard Fournette's probably on the go. Let's talk about some players that have already switched teams. And I'm going to start with Nook Hopkins. He's leaving the Texans. He's going to Arizona. He goes from Deshaun Watson to Kyler Murray, Bill O'Brien, the Coach K, a more pass-happy offense. Where does Nook Hopkins end up in Dynasty? Is he on the up, or is he on the down, or is it still going to be his 5-star rating because it couldn't go up much higher? What you think, E?
At only 27 years old, it's a dreamy situation from him. Not only because – Kyler Murray is going to flood them with targets. They have Cliff Kingsbury, the air raid master, the guy that just loves to drop back and throw the ball in the offense. But you know what, more importantly, that people aren't even thinking about is he's got a mentor and a guy named Larry Fitzgerald who had a pretty damn good career. And I don't think Nook Hopkins ever needed a mentor before, but he's going to be picking his brain. He's going to be learning a lot of things on the training aspect. And it's just dreamy for Nook Hopkins. I can't wait to see him in Arizona. And, man, if he's available, take him. First round, end of the first round. Don't be afraid to take Nook Hopkins because he is going to be a stud in Arizona.
Is he your Dynasty wide receiver 1?
Absolutely. Now that no, absolutely wrong. Wide receiver 2 on my rankings. Michael Thomas, until he gets dethroned, you can't really talk about almost 150 catches. That's a little crazy. You know what I mean? But besides that, he is my wide receiver 2.
Yeah, I think it's very close between Michael Thomas, Nook Hopkins, and I throw in Tyreek Hill there because I love teams with young quarterbacks that are going to be there for 10-plus years like Pat Mahomes, Tyreek Hill. Those guys aren't going anywhere. I think those 3 at the wide receiver position are neck and shoulders above everybody else behind them. And I think his stock is up because of the offense he's going to in Arizona. They're going to be playing in a dome, either that or in L.A. or – they're on the West Coast, other than a Seattle game possibly in November. They're not going to be playing in bad weather. They're going to throw it 40-plus times a game. There's plenty of balls to go around. This guy, I think his touchdowns can stay the same, if not better. His receptions will probably get better because they throw the ball more. And Deshaun Watson, Kyler, he still has a 5-star quarterback. He couldn't have ended up in a better spot leaving the Texans than going to Kyler Murray in the Arizona Cardinals and Coach Kingsbury running basically a college offense. So I think he's on the up and up, and buy him in Dynasty. Absolutely. He's a top 3 wide receiver, easy. So That's one guy that left. Let's go to Buffalo. They trade a first-round pick for Stephon Diggs. So Stephon Diggs, he leaves Minnesota, Kirk Cousins and Thielen behind with that power run offense with Dalvin Cook. He goes up to Buffalo, snowy, dreary Buffalo, and kind of an inaccurate quarterback that likes to run the ball a lot. What do we think about Stephon Diggs, dynasty stock, leaving Minnesota and going to Buffalo?
I mean, he's like a Keyshawn Johnson or a Terrell Owens or a Randy Moss. Throw me the damn ball, Stephon Diggs 2020. We saw what he can do with 150 targets 2 years ago in Minnesota. We saw him cry a lot last year in 2019 in Minnesota when they decided to do nothing but run the ball and not flood him with targets. I think Stephon Diggs goes back to 150 targets. I think they flood him with targets. He catches the ball. He comes back to being a fantasy superstar and exceeds anybody's expectations. I love Stephon Diggs. I love the fit, and I'm sure that guy over there, Josh Allen loves the fit as well. What do you think, Z?
I agree. Josh Allen's going to love him, but Josh Allen needs a 6'3" guy because he has any inaccuracy issues. He likes to throw the ball over people's head a little bit, and Diggs is not a tall receiver, and I actually don't like it for his dynasty stock. I think it goes down a little bit. I prefer Kirk Cousins in a dome compared to Josh Allen playing in Buffalo and New York and all these December games in the snow. That's when the fantasy playoffs are, and I think about that shit. I plan on making the playoffs, so I think about where you're playing at, and they're going to be playing in a snowstorm. I'm not loving it in my fantasy playoffs.
Do you remember where we went to college?
In Maryland, yeah.
Maryland, right. Did it snow in Maryland?
It doesn't snow anywhere like it does in Buffalo.
It snows a lot in Maryland. It snows a lot in Maryland and throughout the whole Big Ten Conference.
Yeah, they only stay till November. There's not too much snow in November.
Let me tell you something about Diggs.
No. Let me finish real quick because
okay.
Kirk Cousins, he might have bitched all last year about Kirk Cousins, but Kirk Cousins was on point with him. He had way better stats than he did the year before with yards per catch. He might have been flooded with targets the year before, but he only averaged 10 yards per catch. He averaged around 15 yards per catch in 2019, and that's because they were running the ball better. I don't think it's as good an offense as it was in Minnesota last year. And guess what? What just usually happens with diva wide receivers? When they change teams because they bitch, they usually go to the next team and they bitch. So I'm thinking his stock dips just a little bit. He's still in the prime of his career. I think it dips a little bit. He's not in that dome. And Kirk Cousins, I think, is more accurate and a better system for him than Buffalo is.
He's definitely more accurate, but it's not a better system. Stephon Diggs is 26 years old. He is proven to be a superstar. You flood him with targets. What do you want in fantasy? Obviously, I love my big guys too. I love my big 6'3", 6'4" wide receivers. But what do I want more than anything? And that's volume. That's 150 targets. That's 10, 12 looks a game. I want my guy flooded with targets, catching the ball, because I'll tell you what, you put that ball in Stephon Diggs' hands, he's going to make plays, buddy. I don't care how big he is. Antonio Brown wasn't 6'4". You put the ball in Antonio Brown's hands, what did he do? He make plays. Stephon Diggs is 26. That starts the prime of a wide receiver's career. He's got a good 4 or 5 years left. A superstar. Buffalo's going to love him. Let's move on because Stephon Diggs in Dynasty, buy that man.
Yeah, I'm saying sell it. If you can get someone to pay the price, that's a power run team. They like to run the ball. The quarterback likes to run the ball. He's kind of their red zone option. So I think he has a good season. At the end of the year, I think you see Stephon Diggs' numbers, and they're like, okay, he had a good season. I see a lot of up and down games, and I see his stock falling just a little bit from Minnesota, but it's still, he's still solid. I'm not saying he's worthless by any means.
Well, you've seen what John Brown did. If John Brown can eat as a wide receiver one in the Buffalo offense, imagine what Stephon Diggs is going to do as a wide receiver one. And John Brown on wide receiver two helps him. I'm telling you right now, man, this kid Stephon Diggs is in a lovely fit for him.
Man, you like everybody. So here's a guy I know you're going to like. He's got an injury history, but he is moving from L.A. He's going down to Houston to go play with Deshaun Watson. And Brandon Cooks got traded for a second-round pick. He's now on his fourth team. This guy's been traded for 2 first-round picks and now a second-round pick. Was originally drafted by New Orleans with the New England Rams. Now he's in the Texans. The situation, he should jump in and get a target share, but he has the injury history, especially with concussions, which is always scary because it could be a blink of an eye. Your career's over. What do we think about Brandon Cooks and his dynasty stock right now?
I mean, it is a very scary thing when you talk about the concussions with Brandon Cooks. It's held him back, but I don't care where you put the kid. I mean, how many different teams? You just said how many different teams he was on, how many different quarterbacks he played with. What was consistent? around 1,000 yards, 6-7 touchdowns. The kid is a playmaker, man. No matter who's throwing on the football, he can jump right in there from day one and be an impact to that offense. Is he DeAndre Hopkins? No. Do not get that twisted. He is not Nuke Hopkins. But is Brandon Cooks a good wide receiver in the NFL? Absolutely. Will he get, if he stays healthy, concussion-free, could he get 10 touchdowns, 1,200 yards? Absolutely.
What do you think his dynasty value is in terms of draft picks? I mean, are you giving a first-round pick to try to acquire him, or what are you selling him for? I think his market's kind of sketchy. Not too many people believe in him so much. In a startup draft last month, I mean, this guy went in like the 13th round. And I almost thought, I kept checking my phone. Did something happen? Did he get cut? Did he retire? And no, everybody knew he was on his way out of L.A. Nobody knew where he was going to end up. And I didn't think anybody would think he'd end up in Houston, which is as best a situation you could end up at with Hopkins leaving. It's basically the injury concerns. This guy's only 26. It seems like he's been in the NFL for 15 seasons. He's only 26. He still has wheels. He's a good route runner. This guy's getting banged up, and concussions are scary. They're scary business. So if I'm selling, there's no point to selling him because you're not going to get anything really worth it back. If you're trying to buy him, I might buy him for a mid to late 2020 second. I think that's on par value. I'm not paying any more than that, though.
I mean, think about his situation, though. He goes with, a bum like Goff, with a very, very crowded wide receiver group, but a guy like Goff who just, didn't get it done last year. And now he's got Deshaun Watson, who is a leader, who's a winner, who spreads the football. I mean, this is dreamy for Brandon Cooks, first of all. So it's dreamy for his owners. I mean, let's see. Wait and see after the draft. See, let's see if they draft somebody. If they get your big boy out the draft, then yeah, that does change things. But if Brandon Cooks goes into the season as wide receiver 1 or 2 with the guy that really is the injury guy on the other side and Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks is a sneaky dynasty pickup. And
you pay a first. You pay a first for him?
No, not right now. Let's see. After the draft, though, after the NFL draft, before the rookie draft, he might be worth the 1.10. If he's, absolutely. If they don't draft another big guy receiver or somebody else to compete, he's absolutely worth the 110 or 112. He's only 26 years old, and he's going to be Deshaun Watson, who you can put him in the playoffs. He's going to throw the ball around. Yeah, absolutely. He could move into that first round if they don't take him.
I feel that. If I had Brandon Cooks, I would trade him in a heartbeat for 110, 111, 112. But I don't own him, so it doesn't matter. So anyway, let's move on. Let's go off the wide receivers. Let's go to running backs. Let's talk about some running backs that have changed positions. And let's start with Melvin Gordon. He's the guy closest to, I guess, being an RB1. He made the big move from the LA Chargers, stayed in division to the Denver Broncos. Now he's sharing time with Philip Lindsay, the free agent darling from 2 seasons ago. Where do you think Melvin Gordon ends up on this tier of running backs in dynasty drafts?
I think he is a sleeper, baby. This guy's ADP is ridiculous. Last year he screwed himself over, okay? Before that, he's running back 1. But anybody that holds out all preseason, we've seen it with Le'Veon Bell. We've seen it with other running backs. Anybody that goes diva mode, holds out, finally signs with the team, it takes a guy weeks and weeks to even get into the rhythm of things. And at the point where Melvin Gordon came in, he's in that oh shit mode. This guy, Austin Eckler, is making it look like they don't need me. I just turned down a whole bunch of money, which bit him in the ass because he didn't get anything close to what they were offering him last preseason. And now Melvin Gordon's got something to prove, but he did land in a lovely spot in Denver. They were messing with the projects. They were messing with the Lindsey and Royce Freeman, the young guys that they're just project running backs. But now you insert a proven superstar. A running back 1. Anybody getting Melvin Gordon and where he's going at his ADP is getting an absolute steal. I think at 80%, 80-20 share, Melvin Gordon is their workhorse. And if Drew Lock is worth a damn, Melvin Gordon, they could ride him to the playoffs.
You know what? He entered a situation where I think it's going to be a running back by committee. Philip Lindsay's not going anywhere. Royce Freeman's still on the team. Gordon's actually the best receiver of the 3, even though he's basically the biggest one, which is kind of funny. Philip Lindsay is going to get some work. I think they might try to trade Royce on draft day, possibly for a 3rd or 4th round pick, something like that. And Gordon's going to have to contend with Philip Lindsay. What is it? Is it 60-40? Is it 70-30? Philip Lindsay, is going to chip at him now.
You really thinking you think Philip Lindsay and Royce Freeman are about equal to a Melvin Gordon? I mean, you're 60-40, you're just barely putting them a little. I mean, you don't think that Melvin Gordon's going to go in training camp and these guys are going to be down here and he's up here and they're like, oh my God.
I mean, Philip Lindsay had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. He's got elite speed.
You ever see Melvin Gordon's numbers?
Philip Lindsay's a baller, man. I'm not sure what you're saying right here.
I'm not saying he's not a baller, but
basically they're paying Philip Lindsay nothing, so they can afford to pay $8 million for Melvin Gordon for 2 seasons. So if we're talking dynasty stock report, Denver got him at a very good deal, and they only wanted to give him a 2-year deal. That shows how much they think he has left in the tank. Man, this guy's past his prime. He's injury prone.
Last year.
I mean, you like everybody, man. And
hey, I like Melvin Gordon.
I think Melvin Gordon can have some. I think he's going to be good in 2020 and all that, but it's going to be a little bit of running back by committee.
I like proven talent. I like proven superstars. You can't talk about Philip Lindsay and Melvin Gordon in the same sentence. When you're watching both of these guys practice, you're not going to give Melvin Gordon 25 carries. You're going to give him 15 or 10 and give Philip Lindsay and Royce Freeman 10 and 10.
Can he handle 25 carries?
That's his only question mark is his injury concerns. But if you draft based off of injury, then I draft off a ceiling. Obviously, there's certain guys you want to kind of avoid. But Melvin Gordon has been a first-round guy. You're stealing him in the 3rd, 4th round. Melvin Gordon is a no-brainer in Denver, and he's not going to see a 3-way committee with guys like Philip Lindsay and Royce Freeman. I mean, Freeman's going to be traded.
I can't believe I'm sticking up for Philip Lindsay right now.
Over Melvin Gordon, bro. Come on.
What did this 2020 bring for real? Like, I never would have thought I'd be in this place in this world. I'm sticking up for Philip Lindsay. Either way,
Melvin Gordon, bro. That's crazy, man.
I'm not comparing the two. I'm saying Philip Lindsay has a spot on this team. He runs hard, and he has a spot on this team. Melvin Gordon's not going to come in there and get 500 touches. It's just not going to happen. He can't hold up to that. I think regardless, his stock. I mean, he's an aging running back, so his stock's down. I mean, I don't even think that's a question.
He's 27 years old, man, and he's been a workhorse ever since he was in the Big Ten for Wisconsin. Couldn't stand the guy, but one thing he did, bro, is he ran mad, man. He runs people over. Melvin Gordon is a stud. He's not a little running back, man. He's not these little guys that get banged up and they're done by 27, 20. He's one of them big brutes, man, that just keep going and keep going.
Well, he can keep on going, and there's a reason they only signed him to a 2-year contract. There's a reason the Chargers didn't want to give him big money. So we'll just keep going and going on to the next running back, which is a former fantasy MVP. I mean, we're talking David Johnson from Arizona, had one of the best seasons in fantasy history just a few seasons ago. Everybody thought he was going to just excel in that Kingsbury offense with Kyler Murray and everybody. And this guy didn't look right. He gets traded. The Texans make that terrible trade for Hopkins that we mentioned earlier, and David Johnson was a part of that. So he takes his $12 million a year to Houston, and what does this guy have left? EJ, what do we think about him in Dynasty? Because he's basically worthless. I seen him in the 10th round of a draft when he went in the 1st round in 2019. His Dynasty stock is basically worth nothing. So what do we think about his 2020 stats, what he can do, and possibly the year after? Because after that, I believe he'll probably be retired.
Well, David Johnson is 28 years old now, believe it or not, and he hasn't had that crazy season since 2016. But what does David Johnson get to do? He gets to hit the restart button. He gets to go into a new system that they just paid a lot of money for. And Houston Texan fans are excited to have David Johnson. I mean, they have not had a running back. They messed around with Lamar Millers, and they pissed around with some terrible running backs. But David Johnson, I mean, until we see it, we don't really know, man. David Johnson could be that comeback player this year. He could not. I'm not going to count him out like everybody. Everybody wants to laugh about it, make it such a joke. But what if David Johnson goes back to 2016 numbers? You don't know. He's in a new system, a fresh start. But what I can tell you is he's going to get the ball a lot. And volume matters in fantasy football. So is David Johnson a terrible buy for where he's going? No, absolutely not. Where he's going, his ADP, especially in Dynasty, being 28 years old, is very low. And he could be the difference that makes your team a winner if he fits in that system in Houston.
So just to say real quick, in a startup just a few weeks ago, he was available in the 9th and 10th round. And I went with players like Sony Michel and Tariq Cohen above him.
Oh,
so that's going to tell you what I think about David Johnson, what he has left.
I draft off ceilings.
This dude was like in slow-mo last year. He got paid and he was never the same player. He's already 28. That's elderly in the running backs terms, man. It just is. He could trick me and have a 2020 season that's decent, but I don't expect anything from this guy. So
but
yeah,
if he's Sony Michel, and who else did you take over?
Tariq Cohen.
Tariq Cohen. Okay, so you're
Jimmy
talking a guy that only catches the ball. A guy that only catches
passes
the ball
last year. He's 24 years old.
Catches the ball
in the open field. He's going to catch 70 passes for the next 10 years.
Okay.
David Johnson's going to be on his couch for 5 years.
Nice PPR grab, but
this is dynasty. I'm for the long run.
And then you're talking Sony Michel, long run. What's up with that guy's knees, man? How long do you think that guy's going? I mean,
I look for a big workload the next 2 or 3 seasons. Yeah, he's probably done, but I think he has more left in him than David Johnson.
You can hate on David Johnson all day, but you can give me him in the 9th and the 10th round with a arrow pointing up.
I'm not saying that it was terrible.
I've seen his ceiling, and if he's anywhere close to that, whoo.
Every second we breathe, David Johnson's stock goes down. So that's good. And then how about another guy? Let's bring in another former MVP in, and Todd Gurley going to Atlanta, only 25 years old. EJ, I know you're going to tell me this guy's going to be fantastic in ATL, and he has something left. He's going to be his 2017 self. I'm not buying it, but go ahead and tell me.
Look, dude, that offensive line there is no joke. 2 first-rounders last year. They already had a very good offensive line. They already have a crazy offense. The only thing that's terrible, they got tons of weapons, receivers. The new tight end, watch for him to be superstar. We'll get to that. Matt Ryan. The only thing that's terrible there is their coach and their offensive coordinator. Besides that, Todd Gurley didn't disappoint last year. His volume made him disappoint. Yeah, he disappointed fantasy owners, but it wasn't under his control. If Todd Gurley could still get 25, 30 carries a game, the offensive line didn't suck, and Goff was worth the damn throwing the ball, I don't think Todd Gurley decreases much. Todd Gurley still has a couple years left. He's still a proven superstar, and guess what he does, Z? He finds the end zone. I love the fit in Atlanta. You know what? I might like a lot of these moves, but I'm not counting guys like Todd Gurley out. It's just not happening. I'm not counting Melvin Gordon out, It's just not happening.
And I am, because I see it year in and year out, man. These running backs just do not last long. And we're talking about arthritis. I don't care if he's 25 or 15.
But you like Sony Michel?
This guy I didn't say I liked him. I said in the 10th round, I took him over David Johnson. Anyway, Todd Gurley, there's a reason he only got signed to a 1-year contract with Atlanta. There's a reason.
Prove it
Nobody
deal.
Nobody wanted to sign this guy for a long-term deal. And I don't like the word arthritis and running back in the same sentence. I'm sorry. Now, he is in a lovely situation in Atlanta. 5 first-round picks, 2 first-round pick wide receivers, a first-round tight end, a first-round quarterback. The whole fucking offense is first-round picks. He's a former first-round pick. He's not the same guy he was 2-3 seasons ago. There's a reason. McVay's no dummy. McVay, you don't think he wanted to give his star running back the ball 25 times in the Super Bowl against New England? Something's wrong with this dude. He knew it, and they cut bait with him, took a huge loss, looked idiotic in the press, and everybody knew that what the hell are they doing out there losing all this money, and they cut him. What don't you think if he had anything left, they were already paying him. They may as well have paid him $7 million if they're paying him 17 or whatever they lost. It just didn't make sense. I don't think he has much left. His 2020 could be decent, but it would not surprise me if this dude's just completely out of the league in 2021.
He's 25, right?
Arthritis and running backs.
They've been talking about that since he was at Georgia. What did he do his senior year at Georgia? Terrible knee injury, right? They've been down in Todd Gurley for so many years, man. Every year he's doubted and doubted and doubted. This is the first year he had a mediocre season, but how mediocre was it? It wasn't absolutely terrible. He was fantasy relevant. When are these guys just – okay, until I see the fallout, man, until I see him completely be terrible and that arthritis in the knee slows him down, I'm not buying it. They didn't give him the volume this year, so obviously with less volume, you're going to get less numbers. But I think Atlanta gives him the volume, buddy. And I can't wait, man. You want to bet a case of this right now? Let's bet a case on this. Todd Gurley, what do you think he does this year?
He could have an RB2 season, but we're talking dynasty and arthritis, dynasty, running back. No, thank you. Send him to the nursing home. I will pick somebody else. I want nothing to do with Todd Gurley in dynasty unless he is absolutely free. off the waiver wire for like a 21 third. It's just I don't see him playing long term. This guy does not have much left. McVay's no dummy, and I'm gonna side on the Sean McVay angle because this guy knows what he's doing on offense, and they would want nothing else to do but be a power run team. And he didn't believe in Todd Gurley, so I think the proof's in the pudding there. So we talked about some players that they changed homes into some new situations. We're talking dynasty football stock report, who's up, who's down. So let's move to quarterbacks, and not so much the quarterbacks themselves, but the wide receivers they're going to be playing with now. So let's start in Tampa Bay. They bring in the Hall of Famer, the GOAT, Tom Brady. He comes down from New England, and this guy finally has some wide receivers in Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. What's our stock report on these two guys? Do you think it goes up or it goes down with Tom Brady?
I think it stays the same. I think it stays similar. I think Jameis Winston was good for them. He wasn't terrible. Everybody hates Jameis Winston. I get it, but Jameis Winston threw that ball around and it made both of them receivers really happy. Tom Brady still got juice left in that arm. We saw it when he dropped back and launched balls to Josh Gordon and other players out there in New England. He's not done. I mean, Tom Brady is still capable. At any year, though, he could get that dead arm. I don't think it's this year, though. I think they have both just stay exactly the same. I think they draft a wide receiver 3 that's even going to be a juicier fit. I really like Tampa Bay this year and Tom Brady, and yeah.
I really like it for Chris Godwin, and I don't like it as much for Mike Evans because I don't think Tom Brady has the arm he did when he was 33. He's now 43. Chris Godwin is going to be Julian Edelman, but 6'2" and a 4.40. This guy flourished last year in the slot for Arians, and I think Tom Brady is just going to pelt him with footballs. He gave up his 12 number. Are you kidding me? He did that for a reason. Tommy B's going to be hitting him, man. Tommy B looks in that slot left and right. Mike Evans is more of just a deep threat that I think can get lost in the fold. I think he'll have some big games. Then there's a couple games I think he's not going to get the volume that's going to go to the slot guys and the running backs and the tight ends. Tommy B looks that way, and he hasn't had a deep guy like Mike Evans for a while, so I think the potential is there, but I think he's going to be looking Chris Godwin's way a lot, and there's a lot of mouths to feed in Tampa Bay, especially if they bring in a wide receiver in the draft, possibly another running back, the 2 tight ends. I mean, this team they're going to be throwing the ball around a lot. Chris Godwin on the uptick, and I think Mike Evans just a slight tick down a little bit. I think some guys pass him up on the dynasty. He's more of a 3rd round guy in startup instead of a 2nd round that he was last year.
Mike Evans has never been the most consistent. He's one of them guys that you get in the draft as your wide receiver. You're like, oh shit, the people that just went before us who I really wanted though, but you'll take Mike Evans. He's known to disappear around the fantasy playoff time. He's not as consistent as Godwin anyways. I think, Godwin is definitely the wide receiver 1, and Evans is the wide receiver 2 there. Would you agree?
I think it cements that Chris Godwin's the one, at least in fantasy. I think it cements that because Tom Brady's going to look towards that power slot guy, and Chris Godwin flourished in that role last season. So staying at the subject, in comes Teddy Bridgewater in Carolina. What do we think about that for this superstar 3rd-year wide receiver out of Maryland, DJ Moore? Is his stock even more on the rise? Teddy Bridgewater, kind of a game manager, but last year with Kyle Allen flinging it around a little bit, this guy still balled out. What's the potential for DJ Moore in 2020 and his all-around dynasty stock?
DJ Moore was the guy last year. Everybody's been waiting on DJ Moore. Everybody's super high on DJ Moore, and he finally came up. He delivered last year. He had a great season. They inserted a guy named Robbie Anderson, though, who has been, he's not consistent either, but he's known to have a couple big games, right? And then Curtis Samuel, you're getting out of him. Your gadget player can do it all. Run the football, catch the ball, hand the slot, go outside. I think this receiving group pretty much stays the same with Teddy Bridgewater. The addition of Robbie Anderson might make DJ Moore decline a little bit as far as, touchdowns. But as far as volume, I think DJ Moore is still going to get fed the ball. Teddy Bridgewater is a lot better than Kyle Allen. Let's put it that way.
I 100% agree about that. And last year, Teddy Bridgewater was sneaky good, and he fed his number one wide receiver. And who was that? Michael Thomas, who set the reception record in 2019. So I see him identifying DJ Moore as his alpha. Robbie Anderson is just the deep guy. Curtis Samuels is the scat guy that you kind of brought up. And I think he pelts him with targets. His stock is as high as I think it's ever going to be. I mean, this dude's on fire. People are considering him almost a top 10 wide receiver in startup. And I think that I pump the brakes on that just a touch. I think he's he's top 15. I'm not going to say top 10 yet. I don't take him over a Mike Evans or even a Julio Jones yet, just because those are the alpha of the alpha guys. But he's entering the third year, and wide receivers going into your third year, your stock will never be more on the rise if you're in a good situation and you have the talent.
Said that backwards, Z. I want to correct myself, man. I said his TDs go down, but I meant his TDs go up, but his yardage and usage goes down because he only didn't have 4 touchdowns last year.
Absolutely. He's going to score more touchdowns. We all know that.
Absolutely.
So how about an aging wide receiver? Adam Thielen, he is 29, but Diggs is gone. All those targets are gone. They'll probably bring somebody in the draft, but Thielen, I mean, just on his 2019 or 2020 status, I mean, this guy is a great buy in Dynasty right now, don't you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And he was professional. Diggs was over there crying every game, doing that diva Antonio Brown stuff on the sideline, Odell diva stuff. And Thielen's just out there like, hey, man, I don't care. As long as we're winning. We're talking a team that was like 5-1, 6-1, running all over the place. Thielen was like, I don't, you know what? I don't have to have any targets. As long as we're winning, I don't care. People love that, man. Minnesota loves that. The quarterback, Cousins, loves that. Thielen is their go-to, and he should be. He's got sure hands, runs crisp, beautiful routes. You don't got to deal with that crybaby over there. Maybe they pick somebody up in the draft. I love Thielen this year. Love him. He's a steal. His ADP is ridiculously low because he didn't have the crazy year last year from 2 years ago. And buy him. Buy him everywhere you can. Trade for him. Throw him in a trade. Definitely load up on Thielen.
Adam Thielen is just an amazing story. Division 2 or 3 guy, played locally around Minnesota, got an invite to training camp, ended up making the team, getting $1 million contract, being a wide receiver 2, putting up great stats, and was injured in 2019. He is now 29, so his age is obviously inflated, and I don't usually like 29-year-old, 30-year-old wide receivers, but this situation's so juicy. Him and Kirk Cousins are on the same page, and they've been there for years. There's not a number 2 to steal targets away. Even if they draft a guy, he's going to have to learn a little bit. The power run team, and he's going to be the focus of the pass game. Adam Thielen, even though he's 29, his wheels he doesn't have too much tread on him. He got into the league when he was like 24, 25. So this isn't a guy that's been around for 8, 10 years.
Right.
I think the stock's going up. He's a buy. Go buy Adam Thielen, and he's going to ball for the next 3 years, and then probably still has a decent career into his mid-30s, and can still produce decent numbers, right. Man. I think next season he's going to put up, top 12 numbers. He's going to get pelted the ball, and I can't wait because I have I own him a couple places, and I just can't wait to see the juicy stat line every Sunday. So
wide receivers are playing longer now, man. Wide receivers are playing older. It's not running backs. Don't get it twisted. It's not a 28, 29 plateau. These guys, look at Julian Edelman. And why can't Thielen, replicate a guy like Julian Edelman? Why not?
100% agree. So real quick, we're almost getting to the nitty-gritty of the show. And I want to bring up a couple young quarterbacks because Superflex, these are the type of guys. You have to make these hard decisions. So, I want to bring up Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones. Are we buying these guys in dynasty startups? Are you going to trust them being your quarterback 2s, possibly even 1s if you get in a situation? We all know how Superflex drafts go. These quarterbacks start flying off the board. Do you believe in these 2 young quarterbacks that aren't in great situations with talent around them? What do we think about the Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, and these young quarterbacks? Are you believe in them, or are you passing?
I believe in a guy who should be the number 3 off the board, and that's Kyler Murray. So you got your Patrick Mahomes first, your Lamar Jackson second, your Kyler Murray does go third. I don't care what anybody says. Kyler Murray goes third now with the addition of Nuke Hopkins. That receiving core, you got a guy that didn't even play last year who's 6'5" coming back this year to join the group. Kyler Murray's third, Deshaun Watson's fourth, and Dak Prescott is 5. My super flex dynasty draft approach is get my quarterbacks early. Get both of them knocked out. Get me some young guys, and I can do nothing but build. Now, you don't know when the runs are going to go, right? You can't control the runs. I've seen running back or quarterback runs go in the 5th, 6th round. I've seen them start in the 2nd and 3rd. Am I comfortable with Daniel Jones as my quarterback too? Yeah, I'm not terrible with it because why? He's got a lot of options. Am I comfortable with Darnold? No. Absolutely not, because they have a terrible coach. The organization just doesn't even give a shit. You know, they piss off their best player, Jamal Adams. I know it has nothing to do with it, the opposite side of the football, but I get the story, man. The Sam Darnold, highly rated, gets mono his 2nd year. I know the situation, but no, I want both my quarterbacks early. I want that Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott combo, that Deshaun Watson, Dak Prescott. I'm getting them early, and I'm going to be set at both of them quarterback positions because there's nothing more miserable than being in a super flex stuck with only one quarterback. And I've had it happen last year with injuries to Big Ben, and I go on. But, yeah, you definitely want to get them quarterbacks early, bud.
So that's a no on Darnold?
No on Darnold.
What about Daniel Jones? Because I prefer Daniel Jones.
If I have to.
This is a guy that's getting Saquon Barkley back. They're going to get a better offensive line. They got 3 established wide receivers on the outside. Their defense is booty, so they're going to have to be throwing the ball in the 3rd and 4th quarter. I think Daniel Jones is a really good buy right now. And Darnold, we'll see what they do in the draft. If they bring in a Jerry Jeudy or a CeeDee Lamb, right, you're going to like it a little bit. But then they have a booty offensive line and an aging Le'Veon Bell.
And a coach that's doo-doo.
They drafted offensive linemen, and then Jamison Crowder is your number 1 with a rookie on the other side. Darnold has a very tough situation right now. It's hard to get behind him and buy that right now. They could have a top 1, 2, 3 pick next season. Hey, maybe they move on and they see Trevor Lawrence, all the stars around him, and they might think about moving Sam Darnold. Who knows? That Jets team's so terrible. We did our preview on them, and we laughed our whole way through it because the roster is pathetic. I think Daniel Jones has more to work with. I like him a lot better than Sam Darnold. And talk about a sneaky fantasy stat line last year. Daniel Jones had a couple baller games that won some people some games. If he can work on his consistency, which I think he will in his 2nd season, I think he can put up a really nice 2020 season.
Yeah, I think he could be a good – I mean, he's Eli Manning comp, man. He'll be a nice quarterback too. You could write him down in the future for 30 touchdowns, 16 interceptions every year.
I like it. All right, this is our Dynasty Stock Report, Uncensored Football. Me and EJ today. Brad's not with us today, but he'll be back tomorrow. We're going to put out work, and check us out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere. Come to Canton and see us. We'll talk with you. We'll drink beer with you on Zoom. We'll do anything. That's our group, Uncensored. Can't nobody shut us up. E out. Z out.
See y'all later.